Greetings wherever you are around the world. It's our pleasure to welcome you to this podcast. It's an international evaluation podcast sponsored by the American Evaluation Association and the American Journal of Evaluation. I'm Zenda Ophir. I'm an independent evaluator from South Africa, currently based near Geneva in Switzerland. And I have a partner with me today.
And I'm Deborah Rugg. And I'm a former UN evaluation director and currently an independent evaluator in San Francisco. And Zenda and I are the co-editors on a brand new section of the American Journal of Evaluation on international developments in evaluation. And our first issue has very, very interesting articles, and we're honored today to have one of our contributors join us to discuss his article entitled Evaluation Criteria for Evaluating Transformation, Implications for the Coronavirus Pandemic and the Global Climate Emergency. So we have none other than Michael Quinn-Patton to speak to us today about his article. So welcome, Michael. And I would like to ask the first question, if you could describe to us what the main message you hope people will take away from your article is.
Well, thank you, Deborah and Zenda. And let me begin by expressing my appreciation for your creating this new international section. It's extremely important that we have a global perspective, and you're both the people to bring that to us. I'm honored to be one of the first contributors to that, and you've done a great job not only in helping edit my piece, but the other articles that are in that. It couldn't be a more important time. And part of the message of the article is that we're in a global world, that we are all in this together, whether it's the pandemic or the climate emergency, and that includes evaluators, and that we're not going back to business as usual. There's not going to be a return to whatever normal might have been. The pandemic, however that plays out, is nothing more than a dress rehearsal for the climate emergency that's on the horizon and ongoing dealing with crises. So the theme of the article is that evaluation needs to adapt to a changed world, and that much of what I see going on is people treating the evaluation side as business as usual, program planning, commissioning of projects as if nothing has changed. And a lot has changed, and we need to adapt.
Michael, I can hardly think of a more important message at this time. So thank you for raising that, both in your article and drawing attention to it now. I was wondering, publication obviously takes time, so quite a bit of time has elapsed since you wrote that. It's more than a year already, I think. Can you tell us what you think the relevance of the article is now, and also give us some more insights about the content maybe, and some of the key messages that you wanted to share through that in terms of the criteria that you address?
Yeah, there's Lenin once said that there are years that seem like weeks and weeks that seem like years. And this is one of those years that has seemed like weeks. It's passed quickly. The urgency of things is around our world situation is intensifying. And every year, as we get more data about climate change, it's clear that the crisis is deepening. The polarization in the world around these issues is deepening. And the need for transformation is deepening. And so the article is about the calls for transformed global systems around issues of equity and sustainability, and the need, therefore, for evaluators as a part of that to have different criteria that we bring. Our traditional criteria, especially internationally, the Development Assistance Committee, OECD criteria, were the traditional criteria of effectiveness, efficiency, impact, continuity of programs, relevance, and it's a project mentality. That's what we did. We grew up as projects. Evaluation has been a project field. But now we're having to deal with systems and complexity. And systems change is a different animal than doing a project. So what the article is about is criteria for evaluating global systems change, including the connection between the local and the global, and the need for criteria that speak to transformation, not just traditional project outcomes.
Wow, that's such a good message, and we can't say it enough in as many places. And I'm really wondering what kind of reactions you're getting from the evaluation community about your article. It's pretty provocative in some places. And what can we learn from these reactions?
Well, the overall message that people are reacting to is, I framed the issue as whether evaluation is going to be part of the problem or part of the solution. And we are part of the problem if, because we are involved increasingly in design and affecting how work is undertaken, in forcing systems change into project mentalities, that's not just a neutral thing. That actually does harm. It slows down the kind of systems change that needs to go on. And so what I'm finding is that among those people who are really getting it about transformation, and that's an increasing large number of people who see the need for moving into a different kind of world around these issues of equity and sustainability. They welcome this and want to implement the new criteria. The other reaction is how the acknowledgement, and you were there front and center in the UN years, Deborah, where you made such great contributions, but you know, well, as does Zinda, the massive machinery of planning and evaluation that involves people commission evaluations, the traditional boilerplate, traditional ways of funding, traditional ways of conceptualizing projects. So we're talking about not just changing systems related to equity and sustainability, we're talking about changing the institutional systems that manage the entire flow of international aid funds. And so people feel that's a daunting challenge, but ironically, what folks are responding to, and another message in the article, is that evaluation is not the back-end player anymore. Because of the power of evaluation criteria, the criteria that we bring to the table affect what gets done, what gets funded, how things get conceptualized. And so evaluation is not the tail wagging the dog. We are part of the whole animal and have to own our part of the system. And therefore, these new criteria dealing with transformation, evaluating transformation means transforming evaluation. And that includes the criteria that we bring. So I'm finding that people who get global systems change welcome this. An example of that is that as we speak, the world is preparing for a United Nations Food Systems Summit in September that will be equivalent to the Climate Change Summit. And people from around the world are coming together to look at transforming agriculture and food systems for a viable, sustainable, and more equitable future. And they are very much embracing transformative criteria in keeping with the need to transform those systems.
You know, I can only hope that this is so critical to all of us on this planet, that we get it and we understand the barriers to those that are resistant. But what I'm seeing is that COVID has broken open some of these systems and made us realize that things have to change, things can change. And what we thought couldn't change, these huge bureaucratic institutionalized systems, we've seen dramatic changes, sometimes overnight, out of necessity. And it's like a moment of in history of opportunity to seize the day and say things can change. And if we are the vocal stewards, we can make a difference. So Michael, your message in this article, I hope everybody gets it and reads it and embraces it and uses it to further this potential growing movement.
And we are seeing it with international agencies. The World Food Program, which won the Nobel Prize last year, has a major developmental evaluation undergoing of their response to COVID-19, and recognizing that the World Food Program, with a long history of humanitarian assistance, is dealing with global systems change, as well as with with food. And the other UN programs are stepping up. International agencies are realizing some of them are just sticking their toe in. Others are realizing they've got to change quickly. And there is a sense of urgency about this. The data suggests that as early as 2030 may be the point of no return in these issues. That's not that far away.
And also one can see that some conversations in the evaluation communities are also turning in this direction with far more vigor than I expected at this time. I'm also happy that our introduction, Deborah and my introduction to the section actually projected the same message. So I do hope people will also take some time to read that. It fits very well with whatever you've been saying up to now, Michael. Perhaps just the last question, because we are running out of time. What are you working on now that further illuminates, obviously, what you had been stating in the article? And I wonder if you can also just make a quick reference to the work of Blue Marble evaluation in general, just for those who may not be yet aware of that.
Well, thank you for that, Jinda. The Blue Marble evaluation really emerged out of 2015, the International Year of Evaluation, and the beginning of the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals. And a lot of that work was aimed at building national evaluation capacities, which has been ongoing. And I was involved in that, but it became clear to me as we did that, that many of the issues we face cut across national borders, cut across the silos of education and health and environment and economics, and that global issues like climate change and equity, food, these are issues that need a global perspective, and they involve the interlocking global systems. And so Blue Marble captures that notion. Blue Marble refers to the iconic image of the Earth taken from the Apollo 17, the last mission to the moon, looking back at our planet, the blue marble, the without boundaries, without borders, our home of all humanity. And Blue Marble evaluation then evokes that notion of a global system, and all of us being on this Earth, our only home. There is no planet B. And so the work that I'm currently involved in, and with you and Deborah and others, is building that capacity to think about evaluation at a global level, connecting the local and the global, working across silos. And a major example of that I referred to is this upcoming United Nations Global Food System Summit. And the Blue Marble Network is doing, on behalf of the summit, a synthesis of what are called independent dialogues preparing for the summit. There are the opportunities for anyone to convene a dialogue about the future of food and agriculture. So far, there have been over 400 of these dialogues on a wide range of issues and a wide range of places. And what we are doing as a Blue Marble evaluation team is we're charged with synthesizing the major themes that come out of those dialogues to help prepare for the deliberations at the summit. And the major themes are very much in keeping with the issues that are in that first section that you all created, and they're in the article. The number one theme is the connection between climate change and the future of food, and the issues of equity and treating sustainability seriously, and the effects of food and agriculture on sustainability and of equity. And so those themes that are in that section and in that article are very much manifest in the World Food System Summit. And that's why the Blue Marble evaluation team is helping prepare for the summit by looking at what people are talking about, what solutions they're coming up with, what issues they're concerned with, and connecting the local and the global, where they live, where their agriculture systems are, what the ecological niches are, where people are operating, and seeing how they're affected by global patterns, global systems, and working to connect our solutions together globally, because we are indeed all of this in this together. Tanya Steele, the Chief Executive Officer of the World Wildlife Fund, said a year ago that we are the first generation to know that we are destroying the planet and the last generation that can do anything about it. And that's true for evaluators as well. We are the first generation of evaluators to know that what we do makes this kind of difference. And it's our challenge to rise to the occasion to be sure that evaluation is not part of the problem, but becomes part of the solution.
That's a wonderful place to end, Michael. My own perspective is that Blue Marble evaluation is a very large part of the future of evaluation for some of the reasons that you touched upon, and the criteria that you wrote about will be increasingly tested. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking this time and for writing the article. And also thank you to everybody who's listening to this. The article will be available through open access for about 2 weeks after this, until the end of June. So we look forward to your responses to what has been written and said in this podcast. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.